The village of Nwori sat nestled between dense forests and whispering streams, a place where the line between reality and myth had long since blurred. Here, tradition ruled, and superstition breathed life into every shadow. Elders told tales not for entertainment, but as warnings. And at the center of many of those tales was Mama Ifeoma. She was 78, though some swore she'd looked that old since they were children. A frail, dark-skinned woman with sunken cheeks and sharp, unreadable eyes. Her back was bent, her gait slow, yet her presence could silence a crowd. She wore layers upon layers of mismatched Ankara fabrics. No one had ever seen her in anything else. Her toothless mouth curled often into a half-smile, one that made even grown men uneasy. Children nicknamed her the Old Witch, though they whispered it only when safely out of earshot. She lived in a crumbling compound at the edge of the village, where no one dared wander. If your goat went missing or your child fell sick without cause, people would glance toward her compound but never say her name aloud. There was the story of Ngozi, a market woman who refused to greet Mama Ifeoma one morning, and by dusk, her vegetable stall had withered to dust. The next week, she left the village without a word. Still no one confronted Mama Ifeoma. They greeted her with forced smiles, offered gifts of yam and oil, and crossed themselves after she passed. It wasn't love. It wasn't respect. It was fear dressed up in politeness. Yet, deep down, even the most skeptical villagers knew the truth. Something about that old woman didn't belong to this world anymore. And for decades, everyone understood one unspoken rule. You could question anything in Nwori, except Mama Ifeoma. Amara hadn't stepped foot in Nwori since she was 13, but the moment her sandals crunched against the dusty red earth, it all came rushing back. The murmurs, the stares, the way the village seemed to breathe secrets. She was 19 now, caramel-skinned with a proud afro that crowned her like a halo, and she walked with the sharp confidence of someone who'd seen too much too young. Her father's sudden death had brought her back home. Her dreams of finishing university in Lagos packed away with the last of her textbooks. But Amara wasn't the type to wilt under pressure. From the moment she arrived, she was already rolling her eyes at the whispers about spirits and curses. "Superstition keeps people stupid," she muttered as she unpacked. "Time to shake this place up." The opportunity came faster than she expected. Her 6-year-old cousin Kamsi burst into the compound one evening, crying and breathless, claiming he'd seen the old witch's shadow move on its own. His small body trembled as he clutched Amara's waist, pointing toward Mama Ifeoma's compound. That name again. That fear again. Amara stood, fury flickering in her eyes. Is everyone in this village still this gullible? Despite protests from her aunt, she marched straight to the village square, arms folded, voice loud enough to draw attention. "If Mama Ifeoma is truly a witch," she shouted, turning in a slow circle to address the gathering crowd, "then let her come out and prove it. Enough of the whispers." Gasps rippled through the onlookers like wind through dry leaves. Chickens scattered. Even the air seemed to pause. No one had ever dared say such words aloud. Somewhere in the distance, a slow, creaking door began to open. Market day in Nwori was always a blur of color and clamor. Women haggling over tomatoes, children darting between stalls, and goats bleating like they were part of the gossip. But today the noise died in an instant. Heads turned. Baskets paused mid-sale. Because there she was, Mama Ifeoma, moving like a shadow among them. She didn't speak at first. Just stood beside Amara's stall, silent, wrapped in her patchwork Ankara like a forgotten statue. Her eyes, usually clouded with age, gleamed with something unnatural, something ancient. They locked onto Amara's, and the girl felt a strange pull in her chest. "You carry too much fire in your mouth," Mama Ifeoma said, her voice like dry wind. "Let go of your pride, child. The earth does not forgive arrogance." Amara smirked, folding her arms. "So talk is all you have? I thought witches could do more than preach." The crowd hissed collectively, some stepping back. A woman clutched her baby tighter. A trader quickly crossed himself. Mama Ifeoma didn't blink. She leaned in slowly, so close Amara could smell the earth on her breath. "Be careful what you ask for," she whispered, barely audible. "The spirits do not play." Then she turned and walked away. Amara laughed, trying to sound bold. But as Mama Ifioma faded into the crowd, something cold crept up her spine. The sun felt dimmer. The ground under her feet suddenly unfamiliar. And for the first time, Amara wasn't sure who was really watching whom. That night, Nwori lay under a heavy silence. Crickets sang in patches, but even they seemed uneasy. Amara lay in bed, one leg flung over her wrapper. Her phone screen dimly lighting the room as she scrolled through old photos of Lagos life, of freedom. Then she heard it. A whisper. Faint but not imagined. It came from just outside her window, like dry leaves rustling. Except the leaves were speaking. The voices weren't in English. Not Igbo either. It was something else. Ancient, breathy, layered like two voices speaking at once. He sat up. "Who's there?" "Silence," she scoffed, muttering. "Fear tactics. Typical village nonsense." But then the room shifted. The humid air she had been sweating in turned icy. Her breath curled in front of her face like fog. The curtain fluttered, yet the window was shut. Her mirror opposite her bed caught her eye. She glanced at it, only to see her reflection staring back a second too late. Her heart dropped. Slowly, her reflection tilted its head, opposite her direction. Behind her, something moved in the shadows. Not walked, crawled. The shape was formless, like smoke with limbs. He screamed. Bursting out of her room, she ran into the hallway, chest heaving, voice breaking as she yelled for help. Lights came on. Her aunt emerged, annoyed, scolding. Her uncle dismissed it. Bad dream. Only one person didn't speak. Her grandmother, seated in the corner, stared at her with heavy eyes. "You mocked her," she said quietly. "Go, before it's too late. Beg Mama Ifioma for forgiveness." But Amara's pride still burned. And pride in Nwori had a price. By morning, Amara had made up her mind. Enough was enough. Whatever game Mama Ifioma was playing, it had to end. With her chin lifted high and sandals kicking up dust, she marched straight to the old woman's compound. "Mama Ifioma," she called, voice sharp as a slap. "I'm here. Show me whatever trick you're hiding." From the shadows of her porch, the old woman stepped forward, still barefoot, still wrapped in those ragged ochre layers that somehow flowed like silk around her. Her expression was unreadable, neither angry nor amused. "You want truth," Mama Ifioma said slowly, her voice strangely melodic. "Then follow me." Without waiting for an answer, she turned and walked away, toward the forest behind the village. The one no one dared enter. The one children were warned about from birth. Amara hesitated, heart pounding, but pride pushed her legs forward. The forest swallowed them. With every step the world changed. Sunlight faded behind thick branches. The air turned thick, humid but not with heat, with breath. The trees whispered, leaves rustling though there was no wind. Amara could feel eyes, not human, watching. Something scurried above her head. A shadow crossed her path and vanished. Still Mama Ifioma didn't pause. Deeper they went, until the trees opened into a hidden clearing. The ground here was bare, smooth. Stones, worn by time, circled the space, each carved with intricate Nsibidi symbols glowing faintly, pulsing like heartbeats. Amara stepped in, suddenly breathless. The forest felt alive. Charged. Mama Ifioma stopped in the center and turned to her. "What you mock, you do not understand," she said softly. "But tonight you will." For the first time, Amara couldn't speak, because something deep within her whispered back, "You're not ready for what comes next." Mama Ifioma knelt slowly in the center of the clearing, her frail hands moving with eerie precision as she traced a fresh set of Nsibidi symbols into the earth. The air crackled. With each motion, the carvings on the surrounding stones pulsed brighter, blue, then red, then a deep golden hue. She began to chant, not in Igbo, not in any language Amara had ever heard. It was ancient, rhythmic, like thunder whispered through bone. A small stone in front of her glowed white-hot, humming like it held a trapped storm. "Step forward," the old woman said without looking up. Amara hesitated, legs trembling. But something stronger than fear guided her. Curiosity, maybe. Or fate. She stepped onto the symbol-stained ground, and the moment her foot touched the earth, the stone pulsed, once. Then her vision blurred. The forest disappeared. She was somewhere else, floating, watching. A younger version of Mama Ifioma appeared, radiant and strong, wrapped in brilliant white wrappers, leading chants in a large shrine surrounded by villagers. They knelt before her, offering yams and cola. She was their priestess, respected, powerful, loved. Then came the invaders. Gunshots, burning huts, a white-skinned officer shaking hands with a traitorous village elder. Mama Ifioma, bound in ropes, stood tall even as flames engulfed her shrine. Her people watched in silence. She didn't curse them. She vanished. The vision shifted, years passed. Alone, she wandered the forest, whispering prayers to hold back ancient forces the villagers no longer believed in. Always protecting, always watching. The light faded. Amara gasped, stumbling backward. Her chest heaved. The truth struck her like lightning. This woman wasn't a witch. She was the reason Nwari still stood. And Amara had mocked her. Shame clashed with awe, and a single thought echoed through her. What have I done? The light from the glowing stone dimmed until only moonlight bathed the clearing. Amara stood frozen, her breath shallow, her mind reeling. Mama Ifioma rose slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "They've accepted you," she said. "But only just. The spirits are not forgiving, Amara. You stirred them with your pride." Amara swallowed hard. "What does that mean?" "It means something ancient now knows your name. And it is listening." They walked back in silence, the forest somehow darker, heavier. That night, as Amara lay in bed, the wind outside grew restless. A sickle moon hung blood-red in the sky, casting an eerie glow over Nwari. The dogs started first, one bark, then another, until the whole village echoed with howls. They didn't stop. Amara pressed a pillow over her ears, but her skin prickled. She could feel it, that strange, suffocating presence. Something was watching her. Not from the window, not from the door, from everywhere. Shadows danced where there was no light. Her breath turned cold again. The mirror, she refused to look. She couldn't. Because deep in her gut she knew. The spirits Mama Ifioma spoke of weren't just old stories. They were real. And now they were awake. Started with a scream. Kamsi, Amara's 6-year-old cousin, had been playing by the edge of the compound, chasing a torn balloon that drifted too close to the forest line. A moment later, gone. No footsteps, no struggle, just silence, followed by the high-pitched wail of his mother that pierced the village like a blade. By evening, the entire village was in chaos. Mama Ifioma warned her. "Didn't I say that girl brought madness back from the city? They've awakened something." The whispers were no longer hushed. Eyes burned holes through Amara's skin as she stood at the edge of the gathering crowd, trembling. Shame curled around her like a noose. Then Mama Ifioma appeared, no longer hunched, no longer frail. She moved with terrifying purpose, her layered ankara wrappers rustling like dry leaves. She stopped in front of Amara, her eyes impossibly sharp. "It has begun," she said, voice low and final. "Your challenge cracked the boundary. Something slipped through. Now you must choose to fix this, or be consumed." Amara's throat was dry. "Where is he? Where's Kamsi?" The old woman pointed beyond the trees. "There's a path beneath the old shrine, one sealed since the last guardian fell. You must go alone. Only you can pass. No time for questions. No time for fear." Amara grabbed a torch, tied her scarf tight, and followed Mama Ifioma to the shrine ruins. At its base, half buried beneath moss and vines, was a narrow entrance. Stone, ancient, pulsing faintly. Amara took one last look at the sky. then stepped into the dark, and the earth swallowed her whole. The tunnel swallowed Amara in silence, save for the crunch of her footsteps on damp earth. The deeper she went, the more the light shifted. Ghostly blue fungi clung to the tunnel walls, pulsing with eerie life. Strange symbols lit up beneath her feet as she stepped, flickering like they were reading her soul. Sweat clung to her brow, though the air was ice cold. The passage twisted unnaturally, the angles too sharp, the space too narrow, then suddenly too wide. Shadows skittered along the walls, but they didn't move like animals. They slithered, glided, some even crawled upside down. And not one of them had a face. Amara gripped her torch tighter, heart pounding so loud it drowned out thought. Then she saw it. The tunnel opened into a cavern, a space too vast to exist underground. At its center stood a massive stone door, twice her height and wide as a house. Its surface was pitch black, obsidian polished to a mirror shine, but etched into it were eyes. Hundreds, maybe thousands, each one carved in terrifying detail. Pupil, iris, lid, all closed, all watching. As she approached, the air thickened. Her ears rang. Voice. Deep, ancient, not heard with the ears but with the bones. Only those who have faced their truth may pass. The eyes began to blink, slowly, one by one. A ripple of motion across the stone like a beast waking from centuries of sleep. The door creaked, stone grinding against stone. The sound echoed through her skull. Light seeped through the crack forming in the center. Blinding, golden, unnatural. Amara stepped forward, pulse quickening, and just as the door parted wide enough to reveal the blinding unknown, something inside whispered her name, and everything went black. To be continued. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops. You won't want to miss what happens next.